The Centennial looks have been revealed, and they are pretty nice. We're going to take a look and grade them here on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome back to the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked Beat. Today is Monday, September 18th, and I want to thank you so much for making Locked On Bruins part of your day. The podcast is free and available on your favorite podcast app as well as on YouTube. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And indeed, we are back to 5 episodes per week beginning today as the season is right around the corner. Bruins prospects played over the weekend, another game coming up here on Monday in Buffalo. Boston Bruins will play an exhibition game against the New York Rangers on Sunday. We have new jerseys for this upcoming season. So much to talk about, and we'll get to it here coming up in a moment. First, I want to remind you that you can find the podcast on social media at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me, my dad jokes, hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. Please do follow along there. And again, please do smash that subscribe button on your favorite podcast app, on YouTube, and become an everyday listener here in 2023-24. You know, there's a lot to be excited about still with this team. Despite the departure of Patrice Bergeron and David Krejci, as well as some other notable names, the Bruins still have a very solid roster, and they're going to look very, very good this coming season because they have unveiled 3 commemorative Centennial jerseys for the upcoming season, a new primary home and away look, as well as a vintage alternate for original 6 matchups. We'll take a look at them in the second segment here on today's podcast, but let's just talk about what they look like and the kind of basis behind the design. Now, these were developed in conjunction with Adidas and the NHL. This is the final season of the Adidas contract. Next year, they go to Fanatics, and it will be interesting to see what Boston's jerseys look like next season. Cam Neely confirmed these will be one and done in terms of, just this season and not any further. But I'm hoping they keep some of the features of these Centennial jerseys coming up in the future. So what do these jerseys indeed feature? The home and away jerseys carry elements of recent black and gold sweaters, but with a bit of a twist. There's a Centennial gold sparkle to them in place of the traditional Bruins gold. The alternate jersey, which is brown and gold, inspired by vintage sweater designs from the club's origins. All 3 styles will include a Centennial patch worn on the right shoulder to mark the milestone. Now, a spinoff of, again, the recent black and white home and away jerseys worn by the Bruins, the Centennial uniforms feature new crests, coloring, and striping. And for the first time since the early 1990s, which you all know is when my love for the Boston Bruins was cemented, and which is why I have such an affinity for the logo that I'm wearing on my hat today. The team's primary uniforms will have complementary team crests. So there's a gold trimmed spoked B on the home uniform. That's the one on my hat. And a black trimmed spoked B on the road uniform. Now the team adopted the home crest as its primary team identity for the 2023-24 season back in June. And that's the logo that you see at center ice at Warrior. You'll see it at TD Garden this season as well. Now, the Centennial gold coloring, which of course is a toast to the 100 years of history, brings the primary uniform style to a whole new level. Centennial gold, which has that sparkle to it, is incorporated into the new striping on the sweater. And full disclosure, one of my beefs with this new jerseys were the overstriping on the side. But in some ways, I wish there were more stripes because the sleeves each contain 3 gold stripes for a total of 6 as a nod to the team's 6 Stanley Cup championships. So ideally, they'd have stripes all up and down these things, but I'll settle for the 6 at the moment. Now, the alternate sweater carries a more vintage style, probably my favorite of the 3, and we'll grade these coming up after the break. It's the first sweater in club history that features Bruins beige as its base color. There's highlights of brown and gold, and it harkens back to the Bruins' foundational color scheme from 1924, when brown and yellow were chosen for the team uniforms. And those were the colors of owner Charles F. Adams's first national grocery store chain. The alternate features a unique crest inspired by the club's 25th anniversary jerseys. It's a modern interpretation that has a 19 and a 24 gracing the horizontal spokes to celebrate the club's founding year. Also, as a nod to the club's Massachusetts origins, the Bruins' 6 Stanley Cup championship years are emblazoned on Massachusetts town signs inside the collar of the jersey, which is pretty cool. That alternate uniform will be highlighted with a brown helmet, glove, and pants. Now, each of these is available at the Pro Shop. We'll take a look at the Pro Shop website here coming up in a minute and kind of take a look at these jerseys and grade them based on how they look, how they feel. Well, not how they feel because it's a digital tour, but you get the idea. So very exciting. A ton of corresponding merchandise. There was that black and white Bruins 100 sweater that I'm really interested in. I'm sure there'll be some caps, hopefully some toques as well. I'm always a big toque collector and very excited about this merchandise. And we'll take a look at it more in depth and grade these jerseys coming up after the break. Everyone should be empowered to care for themselves and their loved ones during the unexpected. That's why Jase Medical offers the Jase case. The Jase case provides 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use and gives you a peace of mind so that you're not just hoping that you have access to medication in an emergency. Jase Medical makes sure you have the medication on hand. And Jase Medical is simple. They handle everything from the online evaluation to licensed pharmacy medication delivery and ongoing consultation and care. So don't get caught unprepared in an emergency. You can save more than $360 by getting these life-saving antibiotics with Jase Medical, plus an additional $20 off by using code LOCKEDON at checkout at jasemedical.com. That's JASE medical.com using promo code LOCKEDON. Thank you so much once again for making Locked On Boston Bruins part of your day every single day. Free and available on your favorite podcast app as well as on YouTube. On Tuesday's episode, we will fully recap the Prospects Challenge in Buffalo, which wraps up today, and talk about who stood out, predict where these guys will be playing this season, and take a look at who might have a chance at cracking the NHL roster this season. For now, we continue our look at the Centennial jerseys, and we're going to grade these bad boys. And in order to do so, I'm going to pull up the Pro Shop website so we can take a look together at these jerseys. Now here you can see, and for those of you listening, I recommend taking a look at Boston Pro Shop. They're featured at the top. We can see the Brad Marchand edition of the Adidas Centennial home jersey. And again, one of the things I love about this jersey is the yellow spoked B with the black outline and the black spokes. That is my favorite logo for the Bruins, and I hope that they do indeed bring this guy back in future seasons. Again, these jerseys are just for the Centennial, but I'd love to see this logo on the home jerseys moving forward. It looks so great on the ice at TD Garden as well. If we zoom in, you can see how the gold kind of sparkles here. It's not your typical gold as in yellow outline and striping. It's also seen on the numbers as well. And my initial gripe, as I mentioned, was the fact that it had so many stripes. You have the 3 gold stripes on each arm, as well as the white and black in the middle. But that, of course, like I mentioned, represents the 6 Stanley Cup championships. Ideally, they would have more. You can see the Adidas logo on the back, the gold trim around the jerseys. I'm very excited to see how these pop on TV and live as well. I should mention, you can see on Brad Marchand's jersey, there is no letter here. And I can't recall who it was, but on Twitter, someone shared that when you buy one of these jerseys, they'll give you a card saying you can bring it back to have a letter put on once those are announced. The fashion show on Sunday did not feature a captain announcement. They very easily could have incorporated that because it was at an airport hangar, JetBlue. Would have been cool to see Brad Marchand or Charlie McAvoy or whoever come on the mic and say, "This is your captain speaking." They didn't do that, but there will be a captain announcement at some point, and you'll be able to get the letter placed on there. So the home jersey, I really dig. I really am a fan, and I'd give that a solid, let's say B+. Let's look at the away jersey. I love the fact that it is with all of these jerseys, or the home and away, I love that there is no striping on the shoulders. I love the clean shoulders. There is that Centennial patch. This jersey has the black B with the gold spokes to kind of balance out the coloring. Again, the 6 stripes on the sleeves, stripes at the bottom, and I like that it has this gray around the name as well, kind of a text box. I didn't notice if they had that on the home one as well. Does the home one have that outline? Let's take a look. No, it doesn't. So the away jersey featuring this kind of cool text box. Say you're designing it, you just add a text box there, put Marchand in there, and there you have it. Black numbers with the gold. We'll give this one a solid B+ as well. The more I look at them, the more I really do like these jerseys. However, my favorite of the 3 is probably the alternate. Here it is. It has the beige base, which is pretty cool, kind of an off-white. It has the yellow B with the black or brown, I guess, spokes around it. It has the 1924 on the horizontal line. Doesn't have that excessive striping on the side. Just 2 gold, 2 black, and the white. And it also has that collared look where inside the collar it has towns or like town signs with the Stanley Cup wins, the dates marked in there. On the back, it has that text box again, and the brown numbers with the yellow. I'd give this one an A. Altogether, I really do love these jerseys. I'm excited to see them in action, and I think the Bruins design team, as well as Adidas, the NHL, did a really good job. And, I kind of not necessarily looking forward to the day where Fanatics takes over. Who knows what these would have looked like if they had taken care of them. But I saw a lot of people rushing to buy some this weekend. I myself, not a huge jersey guy. I only have one, and that was back from the 90s, Cam Neely on the back. Much more prone to buying a jersey or hat or toque, and I'm excited to see what kind of offerings they have along those lines here coming up in the next few weeks. So that's a look at the jerseys. Let me know what you think at Locked NHL Bruins, at Ian C. McLaren. Drop a comment in the YouTube, and we can continue the discussion there. Coming up after the break, we'll do a brief prospects update with one game remaining at the Challenge in Buffalo. Snap into NFL action this season with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action. Their app is so easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options like spreads, player props, over-unders, and more. All you have to do is visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season with FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon today to get started. All right, let's wrap up today's episode by taking a look at what has been going on at the Prospects Challenge in Buffalo. A few standouts for me so far. Brett Harrison is a guy who scored a couple goals in the first game. There's been a lot of talk about Matt Poitras, and rightfully so. He's a very talented two-way center with sneaky upside and a guy who could compete pretty hard at training camp, but likely will be back at the OHL level. Brett Harrison was a third-round pick in 2021, so a bit later than Poitras. He does have a year on him. He's 20 already. He's got 4 seasons in the OHL, which is more than Poitras. 36 points in 30 games last season. So perhaps not the offensive ceiling that Poitras has, but still a very solid center, and he has put in a very good showing in Buffalo, and I'm excited to see what he's able to do in training camp and with the Providence Bruins this season. 20 years old with 4 OHL seasons under his belt. I believe he's eligible for the AHL, and I expect that he will be there this coming season. Now, on tomorrow's episode, I will, of course, run down the whole tournament, who stood out, and predict where these guys will play this coming season. But it's more than likely that Harrison will be playing with Providence, taking the next step in his development. And, offensively, there's lots to like. His shot is a weapon. Bruins assistant GM Jamie Langerbrunner said back in the offseason, he can score from a lot of places. And we saw that on display in Buffalo, especially on Friday. He also got some time last season playing with Shane Wright in Windsor, and those two looked excellent together. Luke Toporowski also had a couple of goals in the Friday game. And he said, coming off summer hockey, you might have some bad habits. It's good to get one out of the way, have a win with it. 2 goals is a good start. And he's a guy I don't think will be on the NHL roster. In fact, I'm quite sure that he won't be, but he's got a wicked shot, and he could be a guy who's called up from time to time in a pinch if there's injuries and if guys are struggling to score and they need a bit of an offensive boost. That tournament will wrap up today as the Bruins will take on New Jersey Devils prospects. It's coming up here just in a couple of minutes at the time of this recording. And again, I'll recap it on tomorrow's podcast. It was cool to see, I think, Frederic Brunet, Harrison, and Poitras were all at the Bills game, all 3 of them at least. I don't know about other prospects. And it's good to see them bonding, hanging out, having a good time there in Buffalo. Now, of course, the big news in the NHL over the weekend was Mike Babcock resigning from the Columbus Blue Jackets after some allegations were made by the hosts of Spitting Chicklets. There was an investigation after Boone Jenner, Johnny Gaudreau came out and said, yeah, it wasn't so bad. Him asking, Babcock that is, asking to look at their phones. Some of these younger players had a problem with it. And after an investigation, it came out that he needed to be removed from the organization. Not Bruins related, of course, but it does underline how this Bruins culture has been developed by Zdeno Chara, where all people in the organization, all players are to be treated equally from the top down, from the best to support role players, rookies. And, Frank Zaravelli said the strong message sent was everybody needs to be treated with respect, just like any other workplace. And that's something that has been instilled in the Bruins locker room for quite some time. And that's something to be proud of here as we celebrate the Centennial, not just the accomplishments on the ice, but the locker room dynamic and that culture of respect that the Bruins have instilled in them. All right, that's it for today's episode, my friends. I hope you had a great weekend. Happy Monday. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and we'll talk to you again here tomorrow on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.